So here's a playlist on some of the plays we've made in brackets, some of the different variations, some of the different techniques. For the most part, obviously I'm going to be trying to show you guys executing things the way we want them done, but we're going to be able to see some of the mistakes that are made as well, and the different pressure that'll place on a safety or on a corner or on a nickel guy who's hard inside if the guy that he's trusting isn't doing things the right way. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. First one, we're going to take a look at the corner up top. Right? In bracket, again, we're slowing them down, getting them inside. We're putting our hands on one, and we're getting our eyes on two. Right? And again, corner up top, Antoine Albert up here, he got himself a scholarship to Cal without getting one interception because of plays like this. He did an excellent. He was one of the best guys I've ever had playing bracket. Did a great job getting to the outside, slowing the guy down, putting his hands on him, and still keeping an eye on two so he could come off and bring the wood. Again, he's able to, once he sees that number two show up, he's able to jump that thing because he knows that safety is going to get there. Right? He knows that, Derek, that's on RJ's side. RJ's another Division I DB. He knew he would get to any vertical route once he let him go. All right, real important that trust is there. It's what we need to grow as a secondary. We've got a lot of new guys. Something that once we get back out on the field, we've got to make sure that we can get to that level of trust, that level of understanding, that level of trust. One last time. This one here, take a look at both corners. Both corners do a fantastic job. Again, these first few clips, we're just going to be taking a peek at the corners, watching them do their jobs. Right? Both guys eventually, there we go. You take a look, both guys were able to put hands on them, both guys were able to make them dance. You can see up top, all right, Antoine's guy is still fighting, trying to get outside before he eventually just gives up and pops back inside. All right, Naeem's guy down on the bottom went ahead and jumped inside right away. All right, that's actually Marquise. Right, slow him down, get him inside, look for number two, see if I can come off and help. Right, you see both the safeties showing all kinds of disguise, and they're getting out. You see how they were at the line of scrimmage right before the snap. Right, ball's about to get snapped, and they're both within 2 yards. Right, and you see these guys have been, these guys were both sophomores. They're both scholarship guys. You can see how comfortable they are and not worried about really having to fly, because they knew that their corners were going to do their job. Next one, another bracket call, so it's on the outside guys. Right, this is that same year, that same group of DBs. All right, so Naeem down on the bottom went to San Diego State. Antoine up top, he went to Cal up top. All right, we've got Gaetano that went to Hawaii, and RJ that went to Incarnate Word, right? So you got a bunch of Division I guys playing this, right? They're great athletes, but the thing that was so special about this group and why they were the top defense in the country that year is because not only did they have a bunch of badasses, but everybody knew what they were doing, and everybody was able to work the technique that they were able to work, so that there was complete trust. 1 through 11, every guy out there knew the other guy was going to get his job done. All right, so again, if you take a look up top, right? You take a look up top with Antoine. He stays kind of latched onto one because two doesn't really show. Two runs an inside route, so he doesn't have to come off. So he just kind of stays on that number one. That number one was a wide receiver that ended up going to Tennessee, so he was pretty damn good. You take a look at down on the bottom here with Naeem. Naeem had a bubble route from number 2, right? So you see the bubble route down here, right? While he's getting the slant, he was trying to keep himself in a position where he could get to either guy. All right. I didn't give a disguise for the safeties, so both safeties kind of, just kind of drifted around 5-6 yards. All right. But again, there is no right or wrong depth for you safeties. It's just a matter of understanding. The closer I am to the line of scrimmage, the harder I got to open up while I'm reading run pass. All right. The deeper back I am, the more I got to sit. All right. Maybe even work downhill if we're playing base. So again, both corners doing a great job there. Right, same thing here. You see we're getting kind of a funky set, almost a stack set. So we're going to put the bracket on the guy that's up front, all right, the guy that's on the line of scrimmage. It's easier to put our hands on him and our eyes on too. All right, you notice the safety up top. He's a little bit wider than they have been in some of the other clips because, ball's all the way over here on the hash mark. All right, corner's getting ready. They put hands on 1, they put eyes on 2, and that should have been another pick 6. All right, Antoine, everybody loves him. Everyone that knows him knows catching the football wasn't his strong point. Man. Had two defensive touchdowns that game. That should have been the 3rd. Here we are. Take a look at Naeem. He does a fantastic job up here. They're getting in a stack set up here. They're going to run a little bubble screen, trying to block the guys that are playing man. But again, with the bracket call up top, all right, we're going to see Naeem come off and again make a tackle for a loss. Hands on 1, eyes on 2, comes in, makes the tackle. Right, throw a bubble screen and you lose 3-4 yards. Not what I think the offensive coordinator was hoping for. Here's Antoine again. Another wonderful job putting his hands on 1 and his eyes on 2. All right, we've got a tight end. And we've got 2 backs that could be potential number 2s for him. All right. So again, it's not just receivers we're looking at. We put our hands on 1 and we look and see who's that second threat coming out that I can help with. All right. The fullback leaks out. The backer bites on the run fake. But fortunately, Antoine comes off the bracket. Right. Puts hat right on the football. Ball pops up in the air, and our defensive lineman. Siwa Taufa actually had 2 interceptions that year. He had a 50-yard touchdown catch on a fake punt in this game. He had an interception. For a defensive lineman, he was handling the ball quite a bit. Antoine comes off, great hit. Ball pops up in the air. Siwa with the interception. Here's another one against Santa Rosa. All right, we got the bracket outside. Byron didn't even need to put hands on him. Gets the pick 6. Does a great job seeing the number 2, the number 2 threat, and goes and picks off the bad throw. Right, but corners. One thing I want you to see here: if that wide receiver dances, jumps backward, he's foot fire in place for so long that he's doing your job for you. What's your job? Slow him down, get him inside. All right. If you take a look at what that wide receiver does, foot fire for half a second while Byron jumps all the way outside. All right. He sees the running back coming out. All right. He sees the number 1 goes inside for him. So the wide receiver did his job for him. He basically ends up just freeing up, and hey, just read that quarterback and see what he does. Bad throw off the guy's back foot, ball's hanging in the air. He picks it off, ends up, he had 2 pick 6s this year, his sophomore year. One of our captains turned down a scholarship and went to Hollywood. He's been in a few TV specials. He's been on small roles in a couple movies. I'm hoping he's going to make it big and remember where he came from. I'm going to tell him all the disguise we did is what made him such a great actor. All right, so this one here, if I remember right, we don't make a great play, but I want you to see what this nickel guy does here, right? He knows he's got help outside, so I want you to see how hard he sits inside. It almost ends up looking lazy, right? You take a look at those two inside guys, and in particular the bottom guy, right? He just sits inside and just doesn't even worry about jumping him, because he knows Naeem's coming off outside because of the bracket call. Right? Quarterback's looking up top. We get similar thing up top. Nickel's staying off. Antoine's just in the way of the out. Right? Quarterback has nowhere to go, ends up throwing it away. We put a lot of hat on that kid that day. He didn't want to play anymore. All right, now, this one here, let me go back. If you notice the safeties, all right, this was a base bracket. This was a base bracket, okay? So, I don't know if you can see the writing with me filming this, but, should be able to see it on your own film when you pull up this clip. The safety isn't disguising blitz, right? He's not playing games up at the line of scrimmage, so the corner does not have to put hands on him, doesn't have to worry about really slowing him down. The safety's already 10 yards back, and if he starts, leaking out before the snap, then, he's got all the cushion he needs. So you're going to see Teron down on the bottom here just kind of put his butt to the sideline and take away all the outside routes. Right, the number two, the potential number two threat is the back. When Laney is in their spread stuff, their back doesn't come out of the backfield very often. Right, when they do, they're throwing him the ball. But this was back in what year was this? This was 2012. Right, back then they hadn't figured out how to play spread ball. Right, and well, they still haven't. But the back stays in and blocks, so he knew. It's just basically me and this safety on this wide receiver, so he's got a club on that left hand. All right, ended up with an interception with a freaking club on. Again, one more time here. No threat of a number two, no threat of a disguise. So he just bails outside. We're inside and outside. If he throws it inside, Gaetano picks or Ray Roach picks it off. All right, he throws it outside. Teron got it. Now, next one here. What you're going to see is what I was talking about on the board, where I said sometimes wide receivers are just bound and determined. Hey, I'm going outside. My coach said I got to go outside. I'm going outside. So take a look at Naeem down on the bottom. All right, if this guy just he ends up just, I'm outside, even though he's not gaining ground, even though he's, working himself all the way to the sideline. If that's going to be the case, right, you keep getting width, and then just squeeze his ass. All right, now, let me back this up. The safety isn't really disguising blitz, all right? He's not really disguising blitz, but he is up here at about, 6-7 yards, okay? Being at 6-7 yards, if this wide receiver gets an outside release, that's still a tough fade route to get to for him, right? You're going to see that happen. So Naeem just goes ahead, squeezes him to the sideline, and locks onto him. Ball pops up in the air, he picks it off. Right, and we head back up the field. Right, there's times where that receiver is just flat gonna go outside. And then you just got to make that play, corner. If you let him outside, what happens if there is a number two threat, you lose the opportunity, right? You lose the opportunity to really come off and help. But right now, that only threat is a back in the backfield. And even though Feather River back that year, this kid was a pretty special running back, he did come out of the backfield quite a bit. This time, he didn't have to worry about it. Here we are against City. All right, this time, if you take a look, we're playing bracket 2. So up top, you're going to see the bracket on the number 2 guy. All right, so we're not bracketing 1, we're bracketing number 2. That allows the safety to stay in the box and disguise a little bit more in the box because his number 2 is nice and close. Right? On the bottom here, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see an outside release, and this guy's just bound and determined to go outside, so then he's just going to go ahead and lock on him. We get kind of a little pivot route up top here, and you're going to see what staying outside does to that route. San Francisco quarterbacks always have tough times against us. So you're going to see the bottom route just get eliminated because he's trying to go outside, and he's just, our corner down there is just banging the shit out of him and squeezing him to the sideline. Right? And up top, they're running that pivot route, which is when teams are running pivot routes, a lot of times that's the receiver they're looking for. They're either trying to win a fade here or they're trying to hit that pivot route here. Right? The pivot route's taken away from that bracket. Safety's got an inside route if it is a crossing route. If he pivots back outside, the guy that was in the bracket's sitting right out there on him. Right? This guy trying to run a fade just almost falls down because, well, I was supposed to run a fade, but he went out there. So what do I do now? Right? Quarterback has to eat it. Coach Rush is over on the sidelines yelling and cussing. Don't get to see much from that end zone view. All right, now, shifting to the safeties. All right, shifting to the safeties. All right, take a look at Eric Fini-Fuyaki. All right, look where he's at. We're playing bracket out on number 1. The ball is on that other hash mark. All right, let's see, what is it? The ball is on, the 23, 24-yard line? And Eric's on the 28, 29-yard line. All right, so he's only about 5-6 yards from the line of scrimmage, and he's still tight in the box where if they run the football, he's going to be able to go get a piece, right? He was a big run support guy, and he was still in a position where he could do that. You can see the ball's already been snapped here, right? That running back's taken a couple steps, so he was still trying. Eric was still trying to figure out, is this run or pass, right? But because he takes the exact perfect angle he needs to take, corner did enough of a reroute, made this guy dance enough, move far enough inside that Eric takes the perfect route or perfect angle to get to that fade route. And again, Eric Fini-Fuyaki is one of my best players ever, right? One of my best safeties ever. He was not my fastest player ever, right? If we timed him in the 40, probably, mid 4.6, hot, low 4.7. On a good day. Came out of high school as a linebacker, right? But again, taking the proper angle, if that ball gets delivered, he's going right to that collision point where if he sees he's close enough to make a play, he can snap that head back and go get that football, right? Because you can see here, the corner doesn't even really do a great job. He kind of backs off and lets the guy run and then just kind of pushes him in the side of the shoulder there. But because of the great angle Eric took, it wasn't a problem. Right, next one here. This was against Delta College back in 2016. They had 3 wide receivers that were bounce back guys. This wide receiver out here, number 1, he bounced back from Nebraska. He was in the top 5 or 10 in the state in receptions that year. He got one catch for 4 yards against us. But we're playing bracket on him up top, but we're in a base look, right? So Marcus wasn't too worried about a single guy. He knew his corner was going to do a great job, so he was up a little tighter. Darren had 3 guys, all right, all 3 that he may end up coming off and helping depending on the route of one, right? And he just knew that if he got an inside crossing route, he'd just put his foot in the ground and come screaming downhill at him, right? Corner didn't help him out much, did he? Right? Let's take a look at that again. This corner out here just kind of opens up and lets him go. But why can he do that? Because Darren's back in base, right? Doesn't have to slow him down, right? This wide receiver's thinking, oh shit, I just shook the hell out of him. I'm going to be wide ass open. And Darren's just sitting right on him inside out, hoping that the quarterback throws it. And he wasn't able to. So again, if we take the proper angles, we do the right jobs, we get our eyes in the right place, corner comes off and helps on two, so the wheel route isn't open. We've got an opportunity to cause a lot of quarterbacks to make some mistakes. Have to tuck it down, maybe get popped a few times, or let it go and throw it to us, not understanding where we're really going to be. This one's just last year. Right, I think it was just last. Yeah, this one's just last year. This is Vince and Zane. You can see them both. See them both down in the box showing blitz, and then open it up to their guys. All right, you see Vince get really, he ball's on the hash mark, so he doesn't have as far to go, but he's got a shallow route. Right, his number one ends up curling up. So you see Vince wider and not really getting pushed. You see Zane up top. Zane opens up. Wasn't really sure what one was doing. He kind of throttled down, and then he had to turn on the jets and go squeeze to that inside shoulder. And again, because of the angles that these guys take, even though the corner didn't really put hands on them, right, we're still in a good position that we can go get to that inside shoulder and make a play. Right, we're going to take a look at Derek up top. Right, see the angle that he takes. Again, you look at the down and distance. We're talking, 3rd and 11, something like that. So he wasn't getting too cute with his disguise. You see the corner makes a mistake, right? Down here we see Antoine doing a great job putting his hands on one, right, making him have to deal with Antoine and go inside. Right, Naeem just kind of jumped outside, so this receiver has kind of a free release. But because of the depth that Derek had with the down and distance, and because, again, this is end of the year of his sophomore year, he had a real good understanding of just how quick he needed to get out. I mean, it almost looked like the quarterback was throwing him the ball. Right, got to hang on to those. I'll let it go without pausing it in the middle here. Again, two real good angles from those safeties. Staying inside out. One of the problems safeties have when they're doing this, again, you've gone through high school and coaches are telling you deeper than the deepest and don't get beat deep and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, hey, we're showing blitz. We're up here at 5 yards, and then I want you to run to that inside shoulder. I know safety, sometimes you start thinking, man, but that wide receiver is really fast. That's where the trust comes in. Trust that your corner is going to make that guy hesitate, shake, get banged up, have to deal with his hands, that kind of stuff. We make more mistakes overrunning balls, like I said, than we ever do not getting to a ball. Again, watch the distance that Trego's able to cover here, right? All the way in the box, and he gets all the way on this vertical route, makes a hell of a play. Don't panic. He even kind of opened up and just had to throttle himself down because he knew he was going to be able to get there. Take a look at the end zone view. Again, you can see him just kind of open up. Right? He knew from the down and distance. He knew from the lineman in front of him. Right? You can tell by the way he just opened up. Right? He's looking at these guys, and by this time in the game, he already knew with these uncovered linemen, he already knew this was going to be a pass. That's why you see he doesn't really make a run-pass read there. We play an aggressive brand of football. We play a lot of disguise. We play, multiple techniques. And one of my biggest goals as a coach is making sure that you become an excellent football player, right? Not just a blessed athlete, right? But you become an excellent football player. And one of the things you're going to hear from me a lot is trust what you see, right? Trust yourself, okay? He knew this was going to be a pass. You see him just open up. He didn't even really read running pass because he knew it was going to be a pass. Trust yourself. Go make a play. That's why I went to Colorado in 1 year. Coach Stu, right? This is the example I've used for years. Been using this one for 10, 12 years, right? You see at the beginning of this play, this one came off our highlight film. That's why it's a red circle instead of a yellow circle. But he walks all the way down in that B gap showing blitz. And even though he's getting a vertical route, he opens right up to that collision point. He sees that he's heading to where that ball could be. And once he sees that he's got this guy covered, now he closes into the throwing lane. Now I'm going to go make a play. Excellent job. We were both younger then, Coach. Here you see Corey Cox, right? Now as you get closer into the goal line, right? Safeties, you need to be a little bit wider, right? In the throwing lane. You don't need to get as much depth, that kind of stuff. And the reason being is, routes get shorter, balls come out quicker because of where you're at on the field, right? There's still some room here, balls on the 16-yard line, something like that, right? But we can play bracket down on the 5-yard line. But we're doing that being flat-footed. We're standing in the throwing lane. We're wider than we typically are, safeties, right? And we're not getting any depth when we're down there because you're going to be making a play standing in the end zone once the ball gets down there, right? You're going to see Corey, again, just kind of sitting, he's already gotten a little wider, right? Sitting right in that throwing lane. And I'm not really sure what they teach at Contra Costa because he just flat threw it right to him. All right, when they do that, you got to make sure you finish it. Don't get a penalty. No threat of a number 2. All right, so basically we're almost doubling that guy. Nobody behind on plays like this hits anybody. That's how you get a penalty and we lose 6 points. Now I'm going to show you guys going to the collision points here. You saw Corey and Coach Stu getting to those throwing lanes. Now we're going to collision points. Right? This wide receiver up top ran 5 yards and ran straight down the line. So James Francis opened up. Right? He was this was his freshman year, his sophomore year. He was Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He put his foot in the ground and ran straight downhill to that collision point. That's why we do X's every day. And when he got there, he would bring it. Right? A lot of guys think they're hitters. James Francis was a hitter. I don't think he cared if someone died. It might be me, it might be you, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to hit you that hard. Here's another version of collision points. You're going to see both safeties. Trego up top actually kind of misses his, right? But you see Marcus up in a blitz look, right? You see Trego in an off look. What that means is I probably didn't give a disguise. I put Doom on there just because it was my guess. This is from 2015, so I think I might have said Doom, right? And Trego just didn't do it, all right? Or I didn't give one, and Marcus walked up and Trego stayed off. I'm not sure. But both guys, all right? Trego from depth, all right? De La Pena from the line of scrimmage are going to go to the collision point on number 2. This was bracket 2. All right? I don't know if you can see the call up there. This is bracket 2, so we're bracketing the number 2 receiver. Right? We got trips on this bottom side. 1, 2, 3, right? Starting in from the sideline. So Marcus was going ahead and showing because his number 2 was so close. And you see him just get right in that throwing lane. Right? Just get right in that throwing lane. Right? You see Trego coming downhill trying to get him. He actually kind of misses him a little bit. But you see him disrupt the route enough that, again, the quarterback's already looking down at the rush saying, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. take a look, get a chance to see from the end zone view. Trego tries to go to that ear hole of that guy. All right. And again, De La Pena rerouted the shit out of number 2, so it really screwed up that route. Again, collision points. Take a look at the safeties down in there showing blitz. Right. Again, this was another. This one was Mug Dart Doom, Raw Fire, Bracket 2. Right. So with this call, we're basically in a 3-man rush, but we're showing 7 men up in the box. Bracket 2 on the bottom side, again we get that pivot route, and the corner that's in the bracket is sitting right outside of them. Safety sitting inside them. You see Marcus kind of bite on the run, but again, because the corner's doing a good job rerouting, we weren't in any kind of trouble. Trego again puts a real good bang on that receiver running the slant, right? Forces the quarterback to have to hang on to it a little bit. By then the rush is starting to get to him, even though it's just a 3-man rush. Because of the dart, because of the walking around, no one's really sure who's coming. Is that Trego kid blitzing again? They're not sure, right? We get a our fire guy saw the quarterback roll to him and just ran right to him. So even without bringing guys, because of the different disguise, because of the different reroutes and techniques, all kinds of problems for the offense. Again, you're going to see a great collision up here, right on top. If you look up top, Satani Malupo, his number 2, right, is in there right real close. So he's right up in the A-gap showing blitz, all right. You see Eric, one of our best blitzers ever, on the bottom, right? He's showing up in the A-gap blitz, and he's going to get a vertical route. This corner doesn't even do a very good job of rerouting number 2. He just kind of jumps outside. But again, you're going to see a great angle from Eric and a great collision from Satani. So both guys do an excellent job here. Satani actually knocks number 2 to the ground. And again, you see Eric running out as if he's getting a fade route. Takes that angle, runs right to that inside shoulder, right to that inside hip. Base bracket, so our safeties are off. Means corners don't have to get hands on them. You still can, but you don't have to. All right, again, you see the collision point. Marcus runs right downhill, the corner comes off and helps with the corner route on number 2. Marcus puts his foot in the ground, comes downhill. That's why we do X's every day, right? You see him kind of shuffle, right? Because we're in the red zone, he didn't fly out of there, but he opened up and shuffled in case he was getting a fade. Shuffle, puts his foot in the ground, comes downhill. I don't think you get to see it very well. Yeah, he goes out of the picture, but base bracket again. Take a look up top. Derek and Naeem. Again, go to that collision point, pick the ball off. It's that simple sometimes. Doesn't matter if that receiver's going to Tennessee and they were the #1 offense in the state. Just go fucking take it. Pardon my language if your mom's watching. Down here, same thing. Zane and Trey. Trey does a great job putting hands on them. All right, Zane goes to the collision point. It allows both of us to be involved in the run. Right? Ravine gets loose, quarterback coughs it up, Trey's right there to scoop it up. Right, first score of the year last year was a defensive score. Nothing wrong with that. If he didn't get it, yeah, either Zane or who's the other guy that got there? Either Zane or DJ. I don't know if DJ is going to finish that all the way to the... Oh no, that's Isaiah. Isaiah would have finished it. Alright, now, what I wanted to show you is against a couple different funky sets. So we got a stack set out of Chabot, right? And the number 2 receiver is stacked directly behind number 1. Whenever we get that, we are going to bracket the guy who's on the line of scrimmage. The reason being, it's a lot easier to play it off him. We can still bracket number 2, but we can put our hands on 1, disrupt his route, get him inside, and number 2 is standing right there behind him. So it's a real easy read for that corner that's rerouting him, and it still allows us to play games with our safeties up in the box. Alright, so you see Naeem walks up, Antoine walks up. They're going to go ahead and play the bracket with the safeties on that guy who's on the line of scrimmage. Both guys put hands on the number 1s, right? They got their eyes on the number 2s. It's a run play, but you saw what I want out of that technique, right? Next one here, you see up top we got a stack set, or a bunch set, sorry, a bunch set. When we get this bunch set, we are typically going to put the bracket on the point, again, because he is on the line of scrimmage. And that's the only reason, because we can put hands on him, all right? We can, by putting our hands on him, we know where he is, we can put our eyes on somebody else. Now, there are times, depending on the kind of routes they run out of bunch, we may leave a bracket out on number 1, right? We may put it on somebody else, but a lot of times we'll put it on the guy who's on the line of scrimmage just because of what we can do with our hands. Right? You see Antoine puts his hands on him, he sees the screen cross his face. Right? He puts his hands on the guy on the line of scrimmage, the screen crosses his face, and he just runs in behind it, ruins the play. Feather River had a tough day and a tough drive back. Right? That's what we always want. Tough drives back. Alright, this is back to the beginning. One more time, just because Antoine was probably my best bracket corner. So we'll go ahead and let this one go. That's what it should look like.